Hey there.
Hey there. Good morning.
I'm
Grand
rising,
Rising.
rising to you. There is no goodness in mourning.
Ah, goodness, look. I keep saying
As
we got
part
to
of that, as part of
people
that,
have to unlearn and relearn, right? So,
tell you that whole social engineering got you saying morning is good. Good morning. Universal.
look, just so you know, people who on social media say that people who always want to start a conversation with Grand Rising, they say they're cuckoo. But so they say I see that all the time. They're like, oh, they get on my nerves and they do that. But yeah, I get it.
How about this? Wealthy beginnings. How about that?
I love that. I love it. But I've seen that so many times posted. I was like, oh my goodness.
But you know what's funny about that? If you understand the etymology of words and that words is seed and seed has power
Yeah,
and lots of things, um, the universe only hears the phonetics of mourning.
correct. Mourning. Yep,
So
exactly.
mourning is weeping, sadness.
Yes,
Why shouldn't the time that you arise, see, when you lie down in your bed, you are horizontal in position, right?
correct.
And that's on the unit on the plane of the earth, you're horizontal to the floor. And so when you get up off of your bed, you move from a horizontal position to a perpendicular position. So that's why it is called a rising. When someone levels up from a horizontal position to a perpendicular, that is a rise.
That is a rise. It is. That
Okay.
is.
It's the same in consciousness. If you're in an unconscious incompetent state and you come to a conscious competent state, you're conscious raised.
Right.
So we're just trying to keep our thoughts and our words in alignment with all universal principle.
Exactly.
Because everything is a spiritual activity or metaphysical to physical activity, if you believe it or not.
I believe that. I believe that to be true. So we
Hmm.
doing introductions today.
Sure, why not? Why not? Why not?
All right. For those who don't know, my name is Monique Macklin, also known as the Pink Power CEO, founder of the Credit Lady. And my mission here is always to help people make, manage, and multiply money. I've been in this industry for over 27 years. And this platform is really to just open the door, open the window, and pour out blessings, which is what we're all looking to receive. And sometimes these are blessings that we didn't even know we received because, like I always say, whenever I have a conversation with Al, it's gems that come over and over again. But that's who I am. And Al, you can go ahead and introduce
Sure,
yourself.
sure. I'm the prophetic financier, Al Mills, and I basically specialize in helping people enhance their socioeconomic mobility God's way by thinking better, banking better, and leveraging better, which will eventually result in you attaining more income, more time, and more location freedom so that you can live life the best way you desire to. And this is this calls about. We teamed up to be able to bring this to people, to be able to raise their consciousness, to be able to live that heavenly life right here on earth, if you will. You don't have to wait to die to get your paradise. You can have it right here in real time.
I know that's the goal. That is the goal. So today's conversation is own nothing but control everything. Own nothing but control everything. And as Al always says, the power is in the pen, right?
Absolutely. The pen
So,
is mightier than the hammer.
exactly. So, in yesterday's call, you mentioned, we touched on, we always touch on real estate in some way, but I mentioned something about not, when you purchase a home, you don't want to purchase a home, your home or investment properties in your name. And you mentioned that that is something we can get into today.
Absolutely. Well, first, I like to always, for those of you who have traveled with me, to know that I don't believe that we have financial problems. We don't have family issues. We don't have health issues. We don't even have societal issues. What we have is an identity problem. And until you have knowledge of self, it is very hard to go or to effectuate anything in life. And so in opening up this conversation and owning nothing and controlling everything from the beginning. If you look at creation on a whole, when consciousness, the Most High created everything, the omniverse, the earth, the flowers, the trees, the mountains, whatever, we never owned anything. We're not the title owner of anything. We're just a steward. We're just a trustee over that. So if you come into this vortex knowing that you don't own anything here on earth, you just have control and stewardship over it, you will stop having fear, because most of the time people fear of losing something.
Losing it, right?
But if it was never yours to begin with, then you can't lose what that was never yours.
This is true.
So now that's the metaphysical aspect to that. That everything belongs to the Most High, because we're not the creator. We are co-creators, yes, in partnership, but we're not the creator, right? And so with that said, everything on earth doesn't belong to us.
It doesn't, because once we leave here,
You can't take it with you, because all the sages of the past, all the pharaohs, they all realized that you can't. The same way you enter this vortex naked out of your mother's womb, you're going to return to the material of the earth in which you were made up of. And so all those riches that you stored up and material things that you stored up, you can't take with you. So that's to kind of give you a reference point that while we're here, we should be as fruitful as we can and live as abundant as we can. And we then have to transition.
but we should also be preparing our children, our heirs, for those
For
things.
generations to come.
Right.
We make it better for the next generation, right? And that's how we break these generational curses, because, traditionally, everybody's like, well, you got to figure it out the same way I figured it out. I have nothing to leave for you. There's
Yeah.
nothing to leave. And that's because of we talked about yesterday, our social engineering. We focus on things that are not inheritable.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Everything that we do, we can't transfer it to anyone else, right? And we talked about that yesterday. You can't leave your job to your children.
No.
You can't even leave your skill to your children or your grandchildren. So what do you leave for them?
Right.
The greatest gift is knowledge
That is the greatest gift
and
that you can.
capacity. That's it. But to
You
the
can't
point,
you can't just get you can't amass a whole bunch of properties and then when you pass, they don't know how to manage and maintain these things. So
absolutely.
you have to educate them along the way, have family meetings so that they understand how to move forward with the family business. As we have said, your home is the first place of your family. Your home is the first business that you have, and it should be ran as such.
Correct. But to own nothing as we function in this physical realm, we first have to accept the fact that we live in a duality, right? We have a metaphysical and a physical. And so as we benefit taking advantage of this physical plane, there's a very simple concept that I think we all should gravitate or accept, is that what the thief can see, he can steal.
Right.
And what the judge can see, he can see. He or she can seize. And so if you think about that, that'll show you how to begin to operate first in a kingdom mindset. Protection is first. You first build the walls around the city before you build the palace.
Correct. You
And
protect
if
the
you think about
palace before it's even there, right?
correct. Just like if you think about the medieval days, they created a moat and a draw and all that before you can get to the castle.
Right.
So we have to start thinking protection first. That's the first reason why we should want to own nothing. It's not because we're looking to hide and defraud and deceive. It's a form of protection.
Correct. Exactly. So when someone says, "Hey, I want to buy my forever home," we'll start there. I'm looking to buy a home for my family. And they go down and they, speak to mortgage bankers and they're looking to, go with realtors and look at homes where they go to the mortgage professional first to get their pre-approval. And then they start looking at homes and now they at the table. What is the first line of defense when they're looking to buy this home? They should say what to the mortgage person?
Well, I would say the very first thing in the line of defense is that the true American dream is a nightmare. because it's just that. It was just a dream.
It was.
It wasn't reality.
Right.
It wasn't real.
And as I posted yesterday, a single family home is not an asset. So yeah. But we know some people want to live in their home first, right?
So you were conditioned through social engineering that when you want to go put your family into a house, because it's a house first,
Right.
before it ever became a home, it's not a home until aftermath, but prior, it's a house you're buying.
Y'all are silly. Look what you put there.
It's a house that you're buying, right?
Yes.
And at the end of the day, you're buying a house, and that house is going to become the most expensive or the most, yeah, excuse the
Investment.
word, expensive investment that
It
a
is.
family will ever make in their lifetime. I want you guys to really pay attention to that. That will be the most expensive purchase
Yep.
or slash investment that you will ever make in a lifetime.
So true.
And if you go into it thinking about that as an investment, and not you're buying a kitchen or a bathroom or a backyard, but you're buying an investment that you're prepared to sign and mortgage your life away for 30 plus years, you have to start thinking about how to look at that. And so when you apply for that house, they're wanting you to put up your what? Your sign of nature, your
Your
signature,
signature.
and then a down payment, right? And then they want you to put your name on the dotted line.
Correct. On that promissory note. Promise to pay.
And so now you own the house, or you allegedly own the
Correct.
house.
I was going to say, yeah.
But for those of you who understand House Joint Resolution 192, we'll talk about that in another conversation. The only capacity that can own a property is the state.
Correct.
Because if you're the landlord after purchasing the house, right, you became the landlord, right, the owner. Why are you paying taxes somewhere else to somebody else? Last time I
Correct.
checked, people pay the landlord.
Yeah. And it's
So do you ever really own the house in that scenario first and foremost?
never. Because
Okay.
even after
So
it's paid off, you still got to pay them taxes.
right. And so because you're engaging in commerce, you are now nothing more than a part of the state, a figmentation or of the state. So you're not owning anything,
It's a glorified renter.
basically.
Yeah. That's
Right? It's a death
well,
pledge. Like Yalpa said, it's a death pledge. And so,
yeah.
but to protect yourself from that, where you're not signing yourself into servitude, why buy the house in your personal name? Most do it because it's a sense of attainment or gratification. Again, back from the social engineering, we've been told as a nation of people, we can't own, we can't have, we can't do this. That's somewhat a stamp of approval that to say, look, I did something. Maybe that's what it is from
Yeah.
an emotional state.
It's kind of like people wanting their name on the marquee or their name on the business, right? They want their name on the deed.
But
And
the reality is,
yeah,
we don't want that because we don't want to be seen. We don't want to be able to have something taken away. So you
right,
have to learn how to acquire things without putting your personal pledge
right.
on it and separating yourself. See, when you separate yourself from the thing, then you can distinguish what is a real estate as opposed to real property. I hope everyone who's listening to me, I'm saying specific words. Real estate is different than real property. And if you look at your documents, for those of you who bought a house before, your title refers to language in the terms of real property.
It does.
It doesn't say real estate. But yeah, we say, oh, I'm doing real estate. No, real estate is something that's, first of all, definition of real, and it is an estate. That's when you come to a place of real ownership or controllership, is when you can control your estate. But in this example, when you're in your name, you don't have real estate. You're purchasing in real property, and someone can take it from you.
Now let me ask you this, just as a side note. someone is having trouble financially and they're considering maybe filing for bankruptcy, right? If the property is in the business name, in a business name, LLC or whatever, they have they can't include that in there, but maybe they find themselves having trouble paying the mortgage, right? Would
That
that
is
be
true.
now how so because life happens, so that's why I'm throwing this out there. I know it's safer to purchase in your business name, but if you run into trouble financially, you can't include that in there.
Well, then you're not financially liable for that property. The corporation is.
The
So then,
corporation is.
so why would you need to include that house in it?
Well, if what bankruptcy would protect you in that instance, right, from losing it.
Well, first of all, let's just make a disclaimer. We're not giving legal, accounting, or tax advice. We're having this conversation purely amongst friends and family for entertainment and educational purposes and from our
Yes.
personal experiences. So, from a personal experience, when you learn this practice of owning nothing, you will be able to purchase property and gain assets in corporate fictional names that you control the pen to, the power of the pen to move things around, sell, buy, lease, mortgage. And you then have the capacity, if it doesn't work out, to get rid of it using a financial tool called bankruptcy for the company in a chapter 11, and it goes away. You're not harmed personally.
Right. Okay. I was just in that instance. I was just thinking about that because I know some people do run into financial trouble, right? And the mortgage is usually your biggest bill. So if you're having trouble with that, would you still be able to protect yourself in that manner? So.
Well, if okay, so now let's go back to structure really quickly. If your entity owns it, then the entity has a tenant because a corporation, an LLC, a trust can't live in a house and a
This is
person
true.
owns the property.
This is
So
true.
there's a tenant. And let's look at the best example of that. And this is and success leaves clues, family. For those of you listening, success leaves clues. The White House is owned by who?
The government, the
The
people.
United States of America Corporation, the United States, right?
Right.
And when they appoint or hire a president, aren't they not issued the right to live there?
Correct.
But the bill is liable to who?
The state, the government.
State and the government. So the same way they do that, you should mirror the same event. Let your government, your corporation own the property and you live where you work. And here's a question I always ask you guys this. Would you prefer to live where you work or work where you live?
You know, I
Powerful
always put.
statement. For those out there, I'd love to see some comments. Would you prefer to live where you work or work where you live? We'd love to get some feedback on that. That's a question. I'm not going to answer that until we get some feedback, but that's where the dilemma starts, right? So when you're in a corporation, you have own a corporation and owns the property, you're a tenant or an occupant.
You are.
The company can file Chapter 11 and reorganize the company and get a payment arrangement through bankruptcy. It can do that. But if you personally are having a hardship that you can't, quote unquote, pay your rent to the corporation,
Right.
how does that you don't have to do anything to secure the property because you don't own
Okay. Okay.
it? Separate yourself.
I was just wondering if you just throw your business under the bus in that manner.
Why
In
not?
that,
You can always start another
you
one.
go and start another one. Exactly.
A business has its own life. It has its own EIN number. It's
This is
separate
true.
from you. See,
This
that
is
comes
true.
back to all of you LLC people, single member LLC, disregarded entities. You just that falls under the alter ego doctrine, where that's just an alter ego of yourself if you're functioning as an LLC and a single member. You
Right.
resorted back to being a sole proprietor, even though you are operating as an LLC. Protection wise, there's no difference. There's no separation.
This is true. Okay. All right. So We are buying this house. We're going to, well, first of all, before you buy the home, you should, well, no. So you're looking at a house, you're looking to put it in your business name, preferably LLC in this instance, right? Because it's
Mm-hmm.
property.
That's fine. Yeah.
Now, so do you wait till you get the address of the property? Because I know most of the time we put our properties in the address, right? 123 Main Street LLC, right?
Correct.
So do we wait till we secure it with our, our down payment, and then
Well,
go
let's
get the
start from the
LLC?
beginning. Let's start from the beginning. So, if when you're getting the proper training in how to operate privately, before you even begin to go look at real property or
Right.
real estate, you're going to already be operating as an entity. It starts long before the purchase.
I got you. Okay.
So you're going and you're looking at things, and when you sign a contract, again, this is a nugget for those of you listening, you would sign your contract as your name and or it's a sign or for a company to be formed. And so the parties know that once your offer is accepted, it's going to be titled in the new name that you're going to choose later.
Okay.
As Empress Java said, in all caps. That's right.
Exactly.
All caps.
Exactly.
And we didn't say cap, we ain't lying. We're saying all caps, functioning in capitalism. Okay?
Exactly.
And so that's how that works. And then you don't even need to see, we've been conditioned against social conditioning and engineered to be qualified. Most people who operate in the public and as individuals, how do you get qualified to even buy a house? Bring us your W-2 form, your pay stubs, credit
Your
report,
credit.
and your 1040 tax returns. Your entity doesn't have to do that. Your entity just has to provide its name, its EIN number, and the proposed rent that it's going to be collecting from a tenant.
Exactly.
The difference?
Exactly.
Huge difference, right? And this is how you qualify as an entity. Because the entity, they know an entity can't live in a house.
Exactly.
So it's going to be income producing for the entity. And don't worry, we're speaking a lot of high level stuff here, but once you be a part of the community, we're going to really teach you and help you perfect this process over and over again. Through watching and learning, right? Everything that we do is edu action, not
Correct.
books, tapes, and pamphlets.
Right. Exactly. So
We
yeah, we
learn by
gotta.
doing.
There is a process with this. So you get you sign what the entity will be in the future. You put your earnest money deposit down. You get the ball rolling, and then you come to the closing table at some point 30, 45 days later. What happens at that point? What should a person have with them at that point?
At that moment, they're signing the deed, they're signing the paperwork as a representative of the entity, not in your personal capacity. So you're
Exactly.
signing as a president, a vice president, a managing member, or as a trustee, depending on your structure. And
Now,
so now
do
you
you need a board of
constantly
directors for this
no, not at all.
LLC?
Not at all.
Okay. I'm just because I know we teach that as well. You need to have a board of directors for your
So in an
LLC.
LLC, just for clarity, an LLC, because it's not a corporation, it doesn't have directors. It has a board of advisors.
Correct.
A corporation has a
As
board of
board of
directors
directors.
because
Correct.
they have directors who form the corporation. And a trust has a board of trustees. So there's different language. And again, you'll learn how to operate in the private in our community.
So we're at the closing table. We're moving forward. And so now you're signing you're controlling the pen at this point.
That is correct. There's where that's the first exercise of the power of the pen. It's asking you authorized or signed by John Doe, president of ABC Corporation. John Doe, trustee of ABC Trust. John Doe, managing member for ABC LLC. I'm just giving examples.
Yes. So yeah. So now you have been able to purchase a home without using your credit, your W-2s, and or any other documents that come in. You have been able to purchase a home not in your name because the corporation is now that owns the home, and then you're going to have tenants live in, which you could be the tenant living in, right?
But operatively, when qualifying for that DSCR loan, the cover service ratio loan,
Yes.
you're using the proposed rent. See, of course, you don't have a tenant there yet, but your goal is showing in a pro forma capacity what the property will generate in market rent. And that's how the underwriters are able to
Process the approval.
process the approval. And again, guys, you're getting the information here that most folks can tell you how to do. Again, this is stuff that people pay for. We believe in there's no lack, there's opportunities for
These are these are small gems, right? Imagine once you get really connected, the kind of gems that you can gain access to. The reason that so many people are trying to figure this out is because they never learned this information. And you can't learn from people who don't know. So the purpose of even having these conversations with and bringing Al, because Al again, it is believes in wealth is private, right? He likes to be in private. He lives in private, but he's coming to the forefront in this manner because he sees so many people perishing, especially financially. So he's willing to open himself up and allow this information to be given, just some of it, but you'll gain access to more. Like we're a part of a community. I'm a part of a community that he has put together, and there's others of us within that community that are fed by him daily, weekly, monthly, just so that we can be able to live lives that we have been desiring to live instead of always having to, have this financial fight going in a chokehold all the time. Like I can't figure this out. Like, how do I get
how
past,
do I do this? How do I
get
do
past,
this?
I can't put most people, it's like, you're trying to get through A and B to get to C. And it's like, I keep bumping my head and I can't get past C. And and in order to do that, you need knowledge. If you don't have knowledge or resources, like a lot of people that come to us don't even have credit, but as private bankers, we're able to open that door because we believe in common sense financing, right?
Let's go there really quickly. So most people believe that they don't have credit, but when you get to have knowledge of self, you get to learn that you are the
You are
credit.
the credit. Yep. Yep. Yeah.
And once you understand that, and even get to the point of overstanding that, I know I said a lot there, right? There's a lot of standing going on there. But
Yes.
nevertheless, when you come to that acknowledgement, life just opens up. But again, just to come back to your point, in our community, it's a collaboration of a multitude of different tribes. Every one of you have a household that's a tribe.
Right.
Pink Power CEO has a tribe, and within our community, she has a tribe, and we're in the community, and we're all working together in group economics to do what? To enhance ourselves socially and economically. It's never a one-man band. See, that's why team means together, everyone achieves more, right? And so that's what this is about. At least I'm going to say, we're coming against the old status quo of just people buying. You can't buy a result.
No, you can't.
Getting a course, getting a PDF, getting videos, and all of this stuff doesn't necessarily ensure your success, because it's been proven that only 1% of the self-help industry actually has success, right? And why is that? Because without oversight and application, it's very difficult to ever get ahead.
It is.
And so we want to turn that upside down. You don't have to be paying these exuberant fees just to get digital books and products. Come and be a part of a community where you're going to have action task and real results from people who are on your team, who care, who win with you and who lose with you. We don't have a client customer relationship. you become a family member.
Right.
Family is business. We believe
Yeah.
in family business.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, to answer to your point, is this exciting to know that we can show people how to live privately?
Yeah. It's a lot of wealthy people out here. We just not everybody's on Front Street, but even the people that we do know of, you still don't see them on Front Street, right? Mark Zuckerberg is not doing commercials. Bezos is not, giving out lectures on TikTok or Instagram. But we know them, right? We know that they exist. We know that they're making that they're, they've amassed a whole lot of wealth, I should say. But they're not out there doing that. They're busy making
And why are they
more money.
known? They're known because their brands and their businesses solve a civic problem.
Correct.
And because of that, their consumer base creates awareness. That's why personal endorsement is the best form of marketing on the planet. Not a FB ad or IG ad. When someone who can say that they had a personal experience with you and they experienced ascension, that's when they share that with someone else. That's a lot more endorsing than a cold ad driving you to a landing page.
This is true. This is so true. So we want to, just give you the tools, the resources that you need, and there are plenty more where that came from. Yes, we just walked you through what it looks like to purchase a home, not even using your name, but you still control the asset, right? And we all know, like I said, when we first started, a single family home is not an asset. And the reason it's not an asset is because assets pay for themselves, right? Liabilities require you to go to work each and every day in order to make that mortgage note, that car note, whatever it is. Those things are liabilities. But when debt is actually paying you, that's the debt that you want to align yourself with. So that's most of what you would be taught within the community should you want to lock arms with us and say, I'm ready to do something different. Because most of the people, I was just talking to one of my agents yesterday, and she is working with a client who is retired in her 50s, and she's been retired for a few years and she's running out of money. Now, most of us have a lot more life in us than, 50 years, right? Most of us, right? Even if it's
Yeah.
another 10, 20, 30 years,
Well, based on mortality table, average age 78 to 81. So yeah, she's still got a lot of life to
we
live.
got a lot of life in her. So if you've retired and you're already running out of money, then that's a problem. A lot of people that reach out to me on a regular basis, they're in need of money. And these are people that go to work every day. They're in need of more money, and that is why we put things together that allow you to either work in partnership with us. Well, most of the things you do are in partnership with us, but there are multiple ways to create streams of income within our community so that you don't have to be, again, in a chokehold fighting for your financial life each and every day. Everything is going up. The docks are closed right now. Who knows what's going to happen with, the goods that are sitting there at the docks.
And let me share a story about that. So I was having a one-on-one, it's for those in the community who are in the VIP level. We have a monthly one-on-one calls with each of you to make sure you're on your blueprint and you're on plan. So I was conducting one yesterday and we were talking about the very same thing. And the question was, they asked me like, wow, we're going to end up paying a lot for things and products and goods and services right now. I said, well, that's one way to look at it. Here's the way that a private banker would look at that. Based on the news that there's a strike, and that means the distribution and transportation of product is going to be slowed down, if not halted completely. It's going to cause the prices of items to drive up. So now that you have this intel, you now would know how to uniquely position yourself to be a part of the controlling of those type of products and ride the wave as the price is up. That's called arbitrage. See, when there's blood in the streets, that's when we become very aggressive. But when the marketplace is very aggressive, we become very fearful. And so there was an opportunity. So I gave him the example. I said, suppose now they can't transport oranges from Florida to the local communities. That means the prices of oranges and orange juice is going to go up. So just having that intel, you could go and buy future contracts of oranges because you know that the demand is going to be greater. It means your price is going to go up. Or you need to go and get some stock in Tropicana orange juice whichever Florida Pride or whatever orange juice you drink. The stock price is going to go up because of the supply and demand. So you have to learn this types of science and financial intelligence. We can turn a bloodbath into a what? A cash bath.
This is true. This is so true. And so there's many different ways instead of looking at it as a problem. Now you just figured out a solution. That's
What we
all.
were talking about earlier before we came on the line, that we have to operate like special operators. And as I study extensively, that we have to learn to work the problem.
Correct.
That's it. Work the problem. Create a SWOT analysis. What's the strengths, the weaknesses, right?
Yeah.
The opportunities and the threats. We have to do a SWOT analysis and see how to get out and how to work the problem. And so that's the key. And when you think better, when you start renewing your mind and you utilize these mental principles to do that, it happens. Another real story, really quickly. I have a member who was a former New York City correction officer, and they gloated that they put away over $200,000 into a retirement plan. And I asked him, I said, well, what is your retirement plan going to give you annually when you retire? Now, mind you, they're 50 years old and they're retiring in 15 years. And I asked him, what was the yield on that? He said 3%. I said, so let's just fast forward 15 years from now, and you earn 3% over 15 years. That's a 45%. That's a 45% appreciation. But do you know what the inflational rate was in that same time period? I said it's going to be on an average 6%. I said, so look at the difference in that. That's over a 90% depreciation. To get a 30 plus appreciation, you got a depreciation of 90 plus percent. And I says, and if you just lived off the principal getting 4% a year, what's 4% on 200,000? $8,000 a year. So you can live on $8,000 a year. So you see, in his mind, based on
He made a good investment in his mind. Yeah.
as far as the world is concerned, he did a great job. He put away some decent money, and it's in a safe environment. But yet, when he put the pen to paper, it wasn't moving the needle. He would have been a retired poor.
Exactly.
Now, he did have other, of course, correction officers in New York City have their last average 3 years of salary is going to be their pension, but we're talking about his retirement apart from that.
Correct. Exactly.
It would not have been sufficient for him to live. And now he's looking for opportunities, and that's why he became a member, is because he wants to be able now to effectuate a better lifestyle. Because it's all about, we pursue lifestyle in our community over money. Because our lifestyle will be financed by our opportunities and investments that we make, not the other way around.
Correct.
Yeah. So I just wanted to share that story.
No, thank you. Like, I know, of course, every time I do a Zoom, I always lead with the whole, are you prepared, or at least preparing for retirement conversation, because some people act as if they're never going, like they're going to work forever or they're going to be young forever. So it's always, whether you're 20 or 30, 40, 50 or whatever, at some point you have to understand that if, like you and I have had that conversation, most people only do retire with about 200,000 or less than 200,000 in their retirement savings. And if you earn 100,000, you only have 2 years before you're back to work, right? So if you haven't done anything or planned to win in your retirement years, because 401ks, which is what most people resort to, only yield about 2%, right? So if you have 200,000 and your 401k is going to take 36 years for that money to turn into 400,000, And if you earn 100,000 now, you're now 4 years away from being broke, because if you live on 100,000 now, you're going to need 100,000 to live off of, because we all know everything is going up, it's not going down.
Right.
So you have to learn how to position yourself to outpace the rate of inflation. So I always do this because I know it by heart in my head. So if you earn 150,000, you want to divide that by 0.04, right? Which is the rate of inflation that
Mm-hmm.
represents the rate of inflation that financial advisors tell us to use.
Mm-hmm.
That gives you the amount that you need. So what you're going to do, if you earn 150,000, use that number. If you earn 100,000, use that number and divide that by 0.04. That's going to tell you what you need when you retire. With the example of 150,000, that's $3.75 million that you need to have in your retirement savings account if you intend to live a comfortable life in your retirement years. So if you're 45 currently, and you have 20 years before you retire, right? Before you turn 65, you divide 20 into 3.75 million. That means you need to be saving $187,500.
Impossible if you're only making $100,000.
Exactly. If you're trying to do this on your own, right? So
Impossible.
if you need to save 187.5 and you only earn 150 before taxes, then you're not going to be positioned to be secure in your retirement years. So that is why we are bringing this information to light, so that you can now figure out, how can I align myself with them, because they have pathways, processes, and plans to help me get there. And that's really, again, getting your money to double a whole lot faster, where you're earning an average of like 7, 8, 10% on your in safe, low risk assets that allow your money to move a whole lot faster. If you intend to be, again, secure, if you don't want to be 77, like this man I watched on a video the other day, having to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning and go to work for 14.75 an hour, then you have to figure out, what do I need to do today? Because we don't know how long we're going to live. Jimmy Carter just turned 100 years old yesterday. So we don't, if you're 50 and retired and you run out of money at 60, well, you're back at work. You're not enjoying your latter years.
Well, the reason why we don't live that long is because stress is a
With
silent killer.
stress. Exactly.
Out, not knowing how making ends meet. Math is not math, and so you're shortening your life just on the stressful level.
Yeah. And you're like, oh, I got $300,000 in my retirement, I'm gonna be good. And then you don't went on a bunch of cruises, and then
$300,000 is not a lot of
it's
money.
not money.
$1 million is not a
It's
lot.
not
A
money.
$1 million is now considered middle income.
Exactly. Look, like, right. Let that sink in,
Everybody's
because
talking about, I make six figures. If you ain't making seven, you ain't saying anything at this point.
right, because the goal, what, 10, 20 years ago, the goal for some reason still seems to be six figures. I don't get that part, but
They didn't take into account inflation.
the goal just seems to be six figures, and I still don't get that part. Like, no, that's not enough. When I heard years ago, this had to be about 15, 20 years ago, when Susie Orman was big, and a lady came on and she said she had saved about $400,000, $500,000 in her retirement. This is like 20 years ago when I heard this. In her retirement, Susie Orman said, "You don't have enough money to retire." And I say, dang, that's when it started clicking in my head. And she said, at that point, she said, if you don't have $1 million or more saved, and this was 20 years ago, you're going to be in a financial deficit. I was like, what?
What?
You need
You
$1
know what,
million
Pink Power
to
CEO?
retire? Oh my
But you know what,
God.
Pink Power CEO, I think this is a great segue into asking this question. I'm big on asking questions.
Uh-huh.
If you are a listener to this particular live or future lives or previous lives, if you want to not have to worry about if you have enough, and you want to tap into being enough, because you are more than enough,
True.
you just need to learn how to harness the power in you and transmute your energy into prosperity. I think you need to tap in with us. I think you need to become one of those 1,000 folks that's going to really want to change their lives and change their communities and move forward. So it's really more of a call to action right now. If you're really concerned or tired of being tired and don't want to do those types of things anymore, and you're tired of the gurus and the do's, let's lock arms together and let's make it happen. Let's build. Sometimes we have to call the action and see who's gonna respond to the sounds of the trumpet.
Who's gonna raise their hand?
Because listening, faith comes by hearing, yes, but at some point you're gonna have to take action, and we're about action, not hoarding information. So this is great that you can hear us speak every day, and we're gonna still bring it because we want to enlighten you and encourage you so that your faith does become increased. But at some point in time, we're looking for the action takers, the doers.
This is true.
So if you don't think that your plan is solid, and you don't know if you're not living your best life, and you don't feel satisfied with your socioeconomics, no opportunity waits. You need to act now.
Procrastination is the thief of time.
And so I'm just going to say that now, that for those who want to take that journey, get with us. Let's figure out a plan, pathway, and a process to help you get there, right? But in the interim, we're going to continue to bring you these enlightening conversations.
Yeah. These are conversations, I promise, these conversations that we're having you have never had before. I'm more than sure you've never heard before, even by the ones who proclaim themselves to be the financial gurus of the world, right? They have large numbers, they have large followings, but they are not having these conversations. They're not telling you how to do this. They're telling you how to put things in your name. They're not telling you how to protect yourself.
Yeah, that's correct. Now, I want to share with that too. Please don't be deceived. Followers and likes doesn't equate to generating prosperity.
It doesn't.
Or does having large followers and likes mean that you are credible?
This is true too.
And so many of us base working with someone based on those things. Learn to discern and cipher what you hear, and you have to determine if it makes sense, if it resonates with you. Not just say, oh, well, they have 150,000 followers, they must be good. You're going to fall down a rabbit hole.
This is true. Those are the ones who are going to sell you those $3,000 courses, those $5,000 courses, and they won't be there to answer any questions for you.
One thing about it, we pride ourselves on is you're never just going to be another number. You are a family member, and we know you by name.
Exactly. So this has been a great conversation on several levels. One of the things that we wanted to drive home is how to protect yourself when it comes to accessing real property. And being the controller of the pen, as opposed to just putting yourself out there for where somebody can actually harm you financially just because your name is on Front Street. Because all we have to do, if it's public record, all we have to do is look it up and see that you own X property or X properties and come after you, right? So if you're not learning how to protect yourself.
Yeah, maybe we should give them a real example. So let's say you bought the house the traditional way. It's in your name. Mary Jane owns 123 Main Street, and someone happens to, little Tommy's walking past your house, and depending on where you live in the inner city, those tree trunks or the roots of a tree could raise the asphalt or the pavement up on the sidewalk, and little Tommy's riding his little scooter, kicking his little scooter, and next bumps into the raised pavement, falls, knocks a tooth out, his permanent tooth, and he's bruised, and he goes home and says what happened, and they realize that little Tommy was injured to do some negligence in front of your house, and they sue you. Now, the first thing the lawyer is going to do when he sues you is what? Check your name out to see what you own.
This is true.
But whatever you own now is up for the taking.
Yeah.
And then they launch a lawsuit, and they put a list pendants on all of your property that's in your name, not just the one that if the event happened. All of your assets become targeted to satisfy a potential judgment. All, not some, But now, if you had structured that right, they would only have to deal with the assets that that LLC owned or that trust or whatever, but
Correct.
you would not personally be involved. Now, not just are they putting all of your other assets, but if you're on a JOB, they can garnish your check too upon a judgment being rendered.
It's true.
And all that because of what reason? You want to show the world that you have something?
You want to show, you want to have your name in lights, lights, camera,
You
action.
want to show the world.
And now now you because when you are shielded behind the corporation, now you're bulletproof in many instances, right? They can't just come
Absolutely.
after you
Absolutely.
and just go at because like you said, everything is fair game that you own that you have your name on. So you have to learn how to not own anything, but you're controlling it. And as you know, they can't access your house is here and your house is there, and you know now you're safe. People can't because this is a litigious system that we live in. Everybody is
What
sue
is it?
happy, right?
Susu. Well, I mean, that's the island way. Susu means to pay, but yes, it's a Susu community.
Exactly. I've done the sue-sues in my life, but yeah. So yeah, you just have to be. Our mission with this conversation is to show people that they can protect themselves. They can own property, and they can actually own property without even using their own credit. Because one of the things Al and I talked about, just like I guess last week or even the week before, it makes no sense that people have or feel they have to wait to get their credit in order to own something. That's not or to live somewhere or to live somewhere decent and all that kind of stuff. You don't have to do that. You don't. And
There
you
are other
shouldn't
ways
have
to
to. There's
acquire
other
access.
ways to access things. But people, the system has given you the idea that in order for you to drive a nice car, in order for you to live in a nice neighborhood, in a nice home, you have to have a 680 credit score or higher to do it. And that's not the case at all. You need to be able to pay for it, but you don't
The
have to wait
ability
for
to
your,
repay, yes, the ability
yeah,
to repay. And even
yes.
that, there are things that one can do once that's been established on how to discharge that as well.
Yeah,
There's a whole modality of things that you can do.
exactly. But you don't have to sit in wait mode. Like people will file bankruptcy and think I have to really sit here for 7 to 10 years and wait for this thing to be off my credit. Like, come on, man. Like, like no, that is not something that you have to do. You don't
And what do
have
you say?
to.
A popular person in your life says, absolutely not.
She's downstairs now, Miss Absolutely Not herself. Absolutely not. So, no, that's not something you have to do. You don't have to sit in limbo and let life pass you by waiting for some nonsense to fall off of some fictional nonsense to fall off your credit in order to live your life because it's really like fake crap in my opinion. But yeah, it's you can live a good life. You want to have your credit where it needs to be, and you could even turn your credit into cash flow if you do it the right way. Um, but you don't have to sit around waiting for those three digits to turn into what the system has made it out to be as a good credit score, right?
Absolutely.
You don't have to do that. You can still live, you can still thrive, and still work on that other stuff on the side in order to get your life where you really want it to be. Because people want that 800 credit score, right? Everybody want the 800. And I promise you, this is another thing I hate. Honestly, more people are more focused on are you going to help me get a 750 credit score or not when they come to me? Can you help me get a 750 credit score? Yes, I
Score
could.
versus profile? That's interesting.
Exactly. The score is not the biggest thing about your credit file. It's the structure of your credit file that matters when it comes to getting approvals. Because I've had to turn down 800 credit scores when it comes to me taking people for funding, as opposed to a 660 or 680 getting approved. And that's because that 680 is more warm and fuzzy than your two accounts on this 800 credit profile. That means nothing. That means
Right.
nothing to a bank.
And when you go to the next level, which we would teach you in the family and the community, is how to get what is called an ABL, right? Maybe you want to write this down, an asset-based loan. Well, it's pure asset-based. They do not look at your personal scores or anything. They look to the asset in which you are acquiring to see if it will support itself.
Or you may have an asset, right? And you can pledge
Right.
that.
Absolutely. See, there's so many ways. And again, help us help you. I mean, we can talk about these subject matter till kingdom come, if you will.
Yeah, this is
But
true.
but not until you uniquely position yourself, because proximity is power, family. Proximity is power.
As they say, as they've said for many years, it's not what you know, it's who you know.
And who
And
knows you?
and who knows you, right? So we don't know you, and you're not raising your hand saying this is the path I want to go down. Then we can't help you, all right? So those who are going to listen to this on a replay, be willing to choose you if this is something, if a different life and lifestyle is what you deserve and desire to live. If you feel I deserve better, my children deserve better, and I desire a different life and lifestyle, then you have to raise your hand and say, I need guidance on this, right? We can't, because if you don't know, how are you going to teach your children? If you don't know, how are you going to educate yourself? You're going to watch a bunch of YouTube videos for the rest of your life? You can't do that. That's not how this works.
And the
So,
question is
yeah,
with the YouTube, right? It can't answer your question.
exactly.
It can't provide you clarity. It'll give you the instructions, and that's how people fail so often. They look for coaches and them give you directions or instructions on how to have, but we're teaching you how to be first. The success formula is you have to first become that of which you desire to be, then you can do, then you shall have.
That's right.
Not the way the world has been teaching you. Have, do, be. That's upside down.
Yep.
Upside down totally. So I'm
Be, do,
excited.
have. Be, do, have. Be, do, have.
So we want to help you start being in that self-image of yourself, how you see yourself, the person you need to become in order to do the things that you want to do, to have the things that you desire to have. They'll be attracted to you once you change your being frequency, your being.
Your wealth thermostat.
So let's not stop worrying about the do, the method and the techniques and the no and the howism. Learn how to think. There's a training balance in how you think. 99.9% of the time, you should stay in thought, feeling, emotions, intuition, and lock and load on the being you are or who you need to become first, right? And so again, I'm off my soapbox in reference to that. I get excited, so you guys can see my octave went up a little bit, but I'm really excited about seeing you guys on the other side, where we can really get into the intricacies of private prosperity.
And that's it. The key
Not
word is
riches, prosperity and posterity.
yes, exactly.
So
So it's been a great conversation with you as always, and thank you so much, Yapa, for being a moderator. We appreciate you always. And again, for those who have joined us and will listen to the replay, make sure you follow Al at the prophetic financier. At the prophetic financier on TikTok, and also Pink Power CEO if you just catch me on the scroll. But yeah, these are great conversations. Again, these are conversations you will not hear from other people. I promise you that. They'll touch on certain things like buying real estate and all that stuff, but they're not going to show you how to properly protect yourself, how to turn that asset into more assets, how to get credit, how to gain access to assets without credit, all of those things. That's the information that you can learn through being a part of this community. So, with that being said, again, I hope everyone has a blessed and prosperous day, and we'll talk to you tomorrow at 10.
awesome,
Have a,
family. Be well. Be well.
thank you.